when you feel that calling inside of you, it does not go away.
Hello and welcome to the Innovative Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Isolde Trachtenberg. On the show, I interview peak performing innovators in the creative, social impact, and earth conservation spaces who are working to change the world. This episode is brought to you by Brain FM. Brain FM combines the best of music and neuroscience to help you relax, focus, meditate, and even sleep. I love it and have been using it to write, create, and do some of my deepest work. Because you're a listener of the show, you can get a free trial. Head over to brain.fm/innovative mindset to check it out. If you decide to subscribe, you can get 20% off with the coupon code Innovative Mindset, all one word. And now, let's get to the show. Hey there, and welcome to the Innovative Mindset Podcast. My name is Isolde Trachtenberg. I'm your host, and I am super thrilled that you're here. I'm also really honored and thrilled to have this week's guest on the show, Star Hayward. And first of all, I love that name. Star Hayward is a business coach, spiritual mentor, and transformation leader with over 20 years of combined experience. Her mission is to empower women entrepreneurs to own their worth and their voice so they can achieve the freedom and fulfillment they desire in their business as confident, feminine leaders through self-love mastery and heart-centered business strategies. You all know how close that is to my heart, so I'm thrilled to welcome Star. Thank you so much for being here, Star. I'm so glad to be speaking with you.
Thank you so much, Isolde. It is truly a pleasure to be here with you today. I so look forward to this conversation, as I know it's going to be on a very high level and we're going to have a lot of fun. And so welcome to all of the audience for being here, and stick around. This is going to be great.
I believe so too. Thanks so much. So let's get down to brass tacks. Okay. We were just chatting before we started recording about your philosophy. And I love this philosophy that you are working with something called the divine feminine and the divine masculine to help, specifically, it looks like, women entrepreneurs own their leadership skills and really move into their strength and power. What can you talk about as far as what divine masculine and divine feminine mean when we come from both man and woman as babies, right? That's how babies are made. We all know that. But so that means both man and woman is inside us. How does that relate to what you do, and what is the divine feminine and divine masculine, and how can you apply that to your leadership skills?
Well, Isolde, this is such a powerful question, and I believe that it will be best answered if I lay a little bit of context behind divine feminine and divine masculine. You see, these together combine what we know as divine power, and empowerment is very alive these days, is it not? Everyone talks about wanting to come into their power. And when we are talking about coming into our power, what this really means is that we are identifying a distinction between our external power, which is defined as our ego power, and our internal power, which is our inner power, that inner strength that we are looking for to build from within. So when we are looking at what that power really means and how do we harness that, the distinction of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, which are both branches of divine power in and of itself. If you were to combine the two, you are in your divine power. So again, as we look at what does inner power really mean, I am very impassioned by the learnings and the perspectives of how the feminine and masculine channels of energy run through us as human beings. And I'll explain more about that and what I mean. So as you noted, we are both masculine and feminine, right? We are a combination. We have these qualities that run in and throughout us because it's a part of the dual reality that we came in here as human beings to experience. In the third dimension, as we are on planet Earth, this is a very unique experience in that here we have duality. We have right and left, we have up and down, we have black and white, we have love and hate. So as human beings, we define our experience by way of this polarity, seeing the polarity,
Hmm.
right? It's this polarity that we have running through us that is expressing itself as the feminine and the masculine energies. And how these show up are through our personality, our qualities, our behaviors, and really how it is that we navigate making choices and taking action in our life.
Wow. Okay. So there's so much to what you just said. We have
Yeah.
we have we have these already, as you said, inside us, and then we have to develop them from within. And yet we get a lot of messages as far as what are stereotypically feminine traits, stereotypically masculine traits. The messages are there in all marketing, commercials, advertising. I remember those commercials from the 70s, I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, and she's a woman cuz I'm a woman, right? So
Yep, yep.
so that was a really bizarre thing for me as a child to see, because I just felt like a person. I didn't feel like I was bound by a specific set of behaviors. So when you work with your
Yes.
clients, how do you work around some of their preconceived notions about some of these stereotypically masculine or stereotypically feminine traits?
Yes, absolutely. So, as women, and what you were just speaking to, we know that we have been conditioned and curated to climb the ladder of success in society by very masculine parameters. And in order to meet these masculine parameters, often a woman finds herself disconnected from her natural, innate feminine qualities.
Hmm.
And I'll explain a little bit more about what I mean by that. So, if a woman is in the masculine energy of creation and innovation
Hmm.
and going after, making things happen in her life, the masculine is a very motivated energy. It's very driving energy. It's a generative generative quality, is a difficult word to say sometimes. And the masculine energy is very much about acquiring, right? So for example, men tend to be very good at sales because they have no fear behind asking for the sale, because their eye is on the prize.
Hmm.
And that they will often, a man in balance with his divine masculine will close a sale by way of a respectful, honorable, integrous conversation and collaboration, right? A male that is out of balance in his divine masculine will use fear-based tactics and even shame to close a sale with a
Hmm.
client or a customer. So this is a perfect example of where, if a woman steps into that and she is taking on these masculine qualities that again have her sacrificing or abandoning her emotional, intuitive sensitivities, sensitivities in a very positive light, right? This is another conversation we could go into
Mm-hmm.
about emotional sensitivity for women.
Hmm.
It's actually a very natural, innate quality that women have that's very much needed in our world, but it has been asked to be set aside so that in our, masculine and patriarchal dominant society, for in order for women to really become successful and become visible, acknowledged, and even valued on the level that they know that they're worth and that they desire. There's so much shrinking to fit, and again, really sacrificing and compromising her emotional and intuitive sensitivities in order to get there. What happens is this woman becomes very good at the masculine behaviors. And in doing so, she often feels disconnected from her work, from her vision. She feels burnt out. She will feel overwhelmed. She will feel inauthentic. And the result is losing luster and losing passion for what her vision is as a business owner in the first place. So, and then there is also, um, again, going after building a business with that in action, motivated energy day after day after day after day will burn really anyone out. So this is great for men and women to pay attention to, that to see where you can bring the feminine qualities of magnetism, attraction, ease, flow, intuition, abundance, connection, service, and tribe. When we really start to pay attention to how important those are, and then also the ways in which we can bring those into the fold into business as you're building a business and becoming a leader within yourself, then you're starting to leverage the masculine and the feminine in a way where it's coming into balance, and you can see where, okay, I'm going to use my motivation here, and I'm going to use my intuition here.
That's fascinating. And it brings up a question for me that that might be a whole nother podcast episode. The thing that I'm sort of curious about, and a little actually also concerned about, is that what room is there for there to be a strong feminine, an active, dynamic, motivated feminine? Is there such a room in the paradigm that you work in? Or is it just that those more active qualities are assigned masculine traits, or assigned as masculine traits, and the qualities of more sort of soft, emotional intelligence, intuition, emotion, all of that are assigned more feminine delineation, I guess? What is the role of a woman who goes, no, I don't believe this is masculine trait. It's more me being a strong, confident woman, and those are very feminine traits because I am a strong, confident woman. How does that align or reconcile with the way that you have broken things down?
That is such a great question. I love this. Yes, so I will start by explaining that each person has both the masculine and feminine energy channels running through them. I call them your inner king and your inner queen. And and so these channels run through each of us. However, we each have our natural masculine feminine ratio. And
Mm-hmm.
there is no right or wrong whatsoever. But there could be a woman who feels very dominant in her masculine aspects, and her feminine aspects, taking the back seat. Whereas another woman could feel very dominant in her feminine qualities, and her masculine is really taking a back seat. Now, there is no right or wrong. Either way, your where your ratio falls. Like, for example, you may be 70% feminine and 30% masculine, or you might be 60% feminine and 40% masculine, as an example. It really doesn't matter what your ratio turns out to be. I personally, actually, my ratio is 50-50, remarkably enough. And there are many people who do have this balance of the ratio. However, it goes deeper than that. And
Mm-hmm.
this is going to answer your question, I believe. So how you know you are in balance in either is really by being aware of and examining your behavior and your reaction or triggers to certain circumstances, in addition to how it is that you are and what it is you are creating in your life. So if there are things that you are creating, experiences that you're finding yourself in, circumstances that are occurring that feel out of alignment with you, that something is off, something isn't fitting right, it's not feeling right, and it's not truly what you want, this is a very good indication that something is out of balance. And usually it's something that's out of balance within ourselves, because everything we experience in life is truly an attraction and a creation from what we are broadcasting from within. So yes, the answer to your question is yes, there is room for a very strong, powerful female to be large and in charge in her business. Yes, absolutely. And there is room for that soft, empathetic, nurturing, feminine business owner to also be empowered and large and in charge in their business in a different way, right? There's room for all of it. My work that I do is to help my clients identify what is standing out of balance, what is out of alignment, and what is showing up that's giving us information to bring that into balance. And often it has a lot to do with healing that is needed from deep-seated, childhood wounds where the individual has come out of childhood, um, not having all of their needs met on a fundamental level in terms of being unconditionally loved by their mother and unconditionally championed by their father. I wrote an article about this recently, and I go into more specifics about that. But truly, the imbalances of our inner king and our inner queen, you call it our inner child, our inner girl, our inner boy, really do root from the experiences we have when we are young and impressionable, and we're learning from the environment that we're in. So it really depends on what we were given, what we weren't given. And as we come into adulthood, this is where we start to see, and as we come into adulthood, as business owners, as innovators, as creators, and we have these visions and we have these passions, and we want to go after what it is that we want to create, and the connecting with your purpose, and being driven by a ripple effect, being driven by wanting to create change in the world in a positive way, whatever that may be. Often, as a business owner, it's very common to come, very up close and personal with your limitations, your limiting beliefs, your whatever it is that's holding you back, self-minimizing, self-sabotaging behaviors and patterns that all root from those formidable years. So I'm really passionate about lifting up and inspiring and giving women the tools to overcome and break through so that they can be that leader, so that they can fulfill their vision. Because so often I find women pack it up and pack it in when the going gets tough, because they don't have the support and they don't understand what's going on. They're motivated and inspired, and they're taking action to a certain point, and then it's like the brakes come on and they're like, wait a second, I don't know if I can go any further. I think I'm going to go back to the job, back to the 9 to 5. And then their vision falls to the wayside. And it's heartbreaking, because we need leaders and we need change makers and we need positive change. And humanity as a whole is ready to rise, is ready to ascend. And it's time. This is the era for the divine feminine, for the feminine leader to step up and step in and really take be the beacon and take the torch and light the way, so that we can bring as a whole our experience from a very patriarchal society, not swinging the pendulum over into a matriarchal society, but so that we can come into balance. And even if the pendulum rocks and wobbles here and there, that ultimately we are living in a much more harmonious existence.
That's so fascinating. And it's interesting that you mentioned the pendulum. If we look at a pendulum swing and we go from patriarchy, we can't immediately go to balance. That's not how a pendulum would work, right? It would be, the physics would necessitate that it would go past that balance point over into say, matriarchy in order to eventually even out into some sort of balance. So within that, how do we, as people, as women who are interested in coming into balance, how do we navigate that? How do we navigate the setbacks? How do we navigate that pendulum swing in a way that it will eventually balance, even if it's not going to balance right away, or even if it, as you said, will wobble?
Yes, absolutely. So it all starts within us, right? So just like I was mentioning before, everything that we're experiencing outside of ourselves is a reflection of what we are creating inside of ourselves. So when we want to come into balance and we want to, you know, spotlight and lift women up so that they can take the stage and, you know, carve out space for us to shine and for our qualities and our gifts and our value to really come through so that we can bring balance into the world, so that we can um, lean more into oneness and wholeness together. That all starts from within. And so I would say to that, Isolda, that it begins with a desire, a burning desire for that woman to overcome whatever it is that's holding her back. And then finding support with that desire, opening up to receiving support, opening up to receiving the right information at the right time that she needs for the next step. And and a deep commitment. It really requires a commitment to what it is that she knows she wants and that she knows she deserves. And really holding, holding the belief around that conviction, and then again, opening up and trusting and finding her way into calling in all of the support she needs. Because, like I said, this is a it's a transformational experience when we're talking about, basically walking through the fire. Is how I call it, walking through the fire and burning these aspects of the self down so that you can rise as a phoenix once again. And we've all been, if you've lived long enough, chances are you've walked through the fire a few times and you're going to walk through the fire again. It's an ongoing process, but there is a time and a place where a person has held back and played small enough, and they're done. And that moment in time is so crux. That moment in time is crucial, and it's at that moment that that person, that woman, has every reason to open up to receive everything she needs to help her, see her through to the other side so that she can become who she needs to be that empowered leader, and fulfill her soul's purpose.
I'm taking it all in for a second. That was a lot of really fascinating information, and it feels to me a little bit like there's a leapfrog effect here. Like we have to get to that point as someone who's decided to make these changes. You have to get to the point where you make the decision and then you're ready to. But for a long time, especially a woman who, as you said, if you lived long enough, you've probably gone through the fire, but you've also probably, been passed over for promotions. You've also probably had sexism directed at you. You've also,
Yes.
things have happened to just about all women in that way. So how do we get to that point? Do you have any suggestions? And if you do, what are they? To building that awareness that you might want to change before we even get to the point where I'm going to call Star and get business coaching. How do you get to the point where you build the awareness that it might even be something you need?
It begins by understanding that in our life, back to this polarity, this dual reality that we're living in, we are being shown what it is that we want and what we don't want on a daily basis by way of our emotional, mental, and nervous system, are by way of our physiology.
Mm-hmm.
What we like lights us up and it feels good. What we don't like doesn't feel good, right? So it's understanding, okay, that felt good, that didn't feel good. I want to feel good. Because that is my natural, you know, birthright, is to feel good. And understanding that, okay, what is happening here, and what life is showing me on a daily basis is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for me to curate what my personal preferences are. And as I identify what my personal preferences are, then I can lean more into those. And it's like following the crumbs on the trail, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, in addition to that, increasing your awareness for everyone who's listening to this, is to open up and find your way into surrounding yourself in the environment of people who lift you up. Surround yourself around people who make you feel good, who are inspiring to you. I always say, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room,
For
right?
sure, for sure.
And yes, and so it's with that desire, behind the desire, there is a commitment there, right? There's a desire, but that I believe that everyone has the ability to commit to their dreams. Everyone has the ability, but then to overcome the hurdles of where the fears set in, that is really the work that each of us has to do in order to create and to cultivate anything that we've never done before. Anything that you've never done before requires you to stretch outside of your comfort zone, because that's where change occurs. That's where change occurs. So, to answer your question, I would say to, keep paying attention, keep paying attention. And if you are in experiences that are, feeling oppressive to you and violating to you, then this is information. This is information that you are out of alignment with what it is that you truly desire, and the true essence of your being, quite honestly. And so then, with that information, one can take that in and say, okay, what kind of change do I need to make? And then finding the courage to make that change. And that's why a supportive community is so important, because when you surround yourself around the people who are making those changes or who have made those changes, you need that inspiration, and it's reinforcement, right? We learn by repetition. So we want to put ourselves into the environment where our bodies and our minds and our spirits and our souls, our hearts, are being filled with what it is that we want. I call it, healthy body nutrition,
Mm.
healthy mind nutrition. So again, if anyone is finding themselves in a position in their lives where they don't feel respected on the level that they want to be, it is time to start respecting yourself, and time to get fierce about that, time to get radical about accepting yourself first, and starting to learn how it is that you can love yourself more and more day by day. And I promise you, what we focus on grows. What we focus on grows. And so everything that we create in our lives has everything to do what we're focusing on. So if you want change for the better, then you start focusing on what it is that you want to change. And I always say the best place to start, and this is what I do for myself every single day, is I make feeling good the most important thing in my day. Feeling good. So when I catch myself thinking a thought that doesn't feel good, I stop and I replace it with one that does. When I find myself taking an action that doesn't feel good, I stop with my awareness and I replace it with something that feels good. If I'm thinking about contemplating maybe spending time with somebody that I actually don't really want to spend time with, I stop and I draw my boundary for myself, and then communicate respectfully that this is not what I desire at this time in my life, right? So you have got to start valuing yourself more. And back to the external power, when we reach outside of ourselves for love, when we reach outside of ourselves to feel empowered, right? That's not authentic. It's not going to be authentic, because the only person that is going to care more about you, how you feel, and your dreams is you. And so you have every reason to become that person that believes in yourself and that cares about how you feel and cares about your dreams more than anyone else, more than anyone else. And this enters into radical self-responsibility, which is a part of what I fold into my transformative process, is teaching women how to become radically responsible for the life that they're creating by way of who they are being, who they're choosing to be in their life, the identity that they are choosing to embody. So are they choosing to embody scarcity, or are they choosing to embody abundance? And it's pretty clear which one it is. And when we identify that, then we go to work and we start making the changes and setting the tools and practices into place in order to transition from the scarcity identity into the abundant identity. And that is where you cultivate that internal power, that inner power, that divine power from within.
Sorry, I'm processing.
I know this is very, very deep.
It's very deep, and yet, on some level, it's funny because there's a part of me that's going, well, of course, right? And yet, it's not something we think about. It's not something we give ourselves the opportunity to spend a lot of time on, because people have to pay the bills and make sure there's food on the table and clean the kitchen sink or whatever. So this seems like it's almost a part of this has to be integrated, if you will, into, as you said, your day-to-day life. But something you said very early on that I think sort of ties into this beautifully is you said the words purpose-led. And I wonder, how does a purpose-led life or a purpose-led business combine with or integrate with this feeling of internal power? Where do those meet, and how can a woman use that fire in order to start or grow a business that's going to have that purpose behind it?
Another amazing, powerful question. I love this conversation. Yes. So when you feel that calling inside of you, it does not go away. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I know you know what I mean, because you are living your purpose-led life. And there's a moment when that light bulb goes off. There's a moment for everyone when that voice speaks up inside of you. Now, when you answer the call is up to you. And sometimes it takes a long time for people to answer that call, because they have created their life to fit within a set of expectations that they have upon themselves, that other people have put upon themselves, wanting to and feeling the need to fulfill this picture that is what society dictates looks like success and achievement, right? And reward.
Mm-hmm.
And so often women find themselves feeling very empty, and men too, but we're speaking about women here, find themselves very empty because they went after all of these things and setting all of the, the career success, becoming the mother, doing, being get their health and fitness and all of these things. And I work with women like this. So I'm speaking, from my own professional experience,
Mm-hmm.
where they've climbed the ladder, they've achieved amazing success in their careers, and they feel absolutely empty inside. And they start to question, why? I don't get it. Why is it that I feel so empty? I have all of this, I've achieved so much, and I have all of this, and yet I feel like I'm just a shell of a person, and I don't feel connected within myself. And it's in that moment, often it's different for everybody, but it often takes coming to a place of, again, being in the experience of a profound experience of what you don't want, to wake up to what it is that you do want. And when you're ready, that voice will speak up.
Hmm.
And when that voice speaks up inside of you and it says, hello, your purpose is calling, again, it just won't ever go away. I know this, I know this. And so then that is the opportunity. That's the invitation to say, okay, I get it. I'm here for a reason. I'm supposed to be doing something else. Now, crap, I've got to figure out what that is, right? Like, oh no, now I have a really big problem on my hands, because not only, is it a deep discovery and self-exploration for many people. Some people it comes very easily. It's like, oh yeah, that was right before me all along. Like, oh duh, let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then for others, it's like, oh no, I got to figure this out. I've got to find out. And no matter what the process is of becoming connected to your purpose, and it's something that I actually help women do, is to really excavate and find out what that soul expertise really is. And then we layer on all of the, the skills and training and skill sets and knowledge and attributes that they've acquired along the way. But no matter what the process is or how long it takes for you to get there,
Mm-hmm.
the invitation to step into a purpose-led life truly is an invitation to enroll in Ascension School.
Mm-hmm.
Like and I think you know what I mean too, because in order to really truly fulfill your purpose, again, it will bring you face to face with all of your fears, all of your doubts, your limiting beliefs, and all of the layers that you adopted that had you creating your life, fulfilling the expectations of others, or maybe it was your own that didn't really match and wasn't really in alignment with you. You have to then figure out how to peel all those layers and start to find a new perspective and a way to put a new meaning on things, so that you can start to shift and let go of the perspectives and maybe some of the values that don't serve you and where it is that you want to go. And that is all part of the becoming who you need to be in order to tap into that inner power, to find that inner strength, to step into your purpose-led life. So yeah, answering the call of your purpose, the byproduct of that, in order to truly answer that call and fulfill that vision, the byproduct is that Ascension School, which will take you through quite a transformative journey and into your power.
Wow. That was amazing. So I could keep you here for the next 6 hours and we could chat, but I know you have a day to get to, and I want to thank you so much for being here. I have just a couple more questions if you don't mind, and I have one
Absolutely.
last one that is a question I ask everybody who comes on the show, but we'll get to that in a second. You said something that I think is really interesting. You said that self-love and being heart-centered, being centered on your own heart, can lead to that purpose-led business. And I'm wondering how does someone who hasn't gotten to that point, or maybe has gotten to that point, how do they take the next step? What is the step that will allow them to innovate? What is the step that will allow them to make those changes, maybe even on a global scale? What does someone like that need to do?
Great question. Yes, so as you were pointing to, there are some people who wake up to what their calling is, and then they, they embrace the path to get there. And then others are, it's almost like a reverse engineer.
Mm,
They need to embrace the path, and then they get to their calling.
I
But then
see.
there's probably going to be more work on the other side too. So, and that is why, with my business, it's called Ascending Heart Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And what I have created in Ascending Heart Academy is the inner and the outer transformative journey, so that I meet each and every person where they are at along the way. So if we need to start with heart work, if we need to start with the self-love and getting deeply connected, and the deep exploration of the self, that's where we begin. If I'm working with someone who's like, I already have a business, I'm thriving in my business, it's going great, I'm ready to go to the next level, but I am shaking in my boots, I don't know how I'm going to do it, I don't know how I'm going to manage a team, I don't know how I'm going to be the leader, then we go to work starting there as well. So it's a very customized, very exclusive, very customized and exclusive program that I offer.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that answers your question. That yeah, it's essentially, it doesn't really matter where you are. It just matters where you want to go, and it begins with just asking the question, "Who am I?"
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Pema Chodron, who's a Tibetan Buddhist nun, wrote a book called Start Where You Are. And it sounds like you are thinking along the same lines as she is. So first of all, Star, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. As I said, we could talk for another 6 hours, but
Yes.
I realize that I need to curtail my curiosity a little bit. And perhaps sometime you'll come back and we'll delve even deeper. See, I thought Star, and then the Big Dipper, and then
I love it.
and then I was off to the races. So would you mind if somebody says, I need to know more about Star Hayward, how would somebody go about finding you? Where can you be found online? Your website? If you could just say them. I'll put them in the show notes, but I'd love it if you'd say them because people learn differently.
Sure, absolutely. So my website is ascendingheartacademy.com. My email address is star@ascendingheartacademy.com. You're welcome to follow me or DM me on Facebook, which I am Star Hayward on Facebook, and on Instagram @Star Hayward Coaching. I'm also @Star Hayward on Clubhouse. I co-host rooms weekly, multiple rooms throughout the week. You can also find me as an executive contributor to Brains Magazine, in addition to This Is It Global Network. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it.
All right, cool. Thank you. That way, if somebody wants to find you, they have adequate ways of doing so. So here's my last question. And as I said, it's one I ask everyone who comes on the show. It's a little silly, but I find that it yields some poignant answers. And here it is. If you had an airplane that could skywrite anything for the whole world to see, what would you say?
You are pure love.
I love that. That's what a delight. Thank you so much for that. It's always interesting to me to see how people answer it, and almost always it's just poignant. It's powerful and deep, even though the question itself is rather silly. Star, once again, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the Innovative Mindset podcast.
It was a pleasure and an honor, Isolde. Thank you so much. I look forward to future conversations together.
Me too. Maybe we'll meet up on Clubhouse.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
That'd be great. My name is Isolde Trachtenberg. I am here to remind you to rate and review the show if you're liking what you're hearing. Let me know what you're thinking, and also to listen, learn, laugh, and love a whole lot. See you next time. Thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you being here. Please subscribe to the podcast if you're new. And if you like what you're hearing, please review it and rate it and let other people know. And if you'd like to be a sponsor of the show, I'd love to meet you on patreon.com/innovative mindset. I also have lots of exclusive goodies to share just with the show's supporters there. Today's episode was produced by Isolde Trachtenberg and is copyright 2021. As always, please remember this is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Past performance does not guarantee future results, although we can always hope. Until next time, keep living in your innovative mindset.